Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of Friendly Tech News. This really started off as I didn't really know what it was going to be when this started. And I thought I was going to discuss more, you know, issues, more I was going to do more like instruction. It's kind of just turned into like a news show. And but I think that's good because I think there's so many things happening. And part of the goal with the subscription service that we've created is to keep you up to date, keep you in the know about what's happening. And there's lots of stuff happening these days, lots of exciting things happening. So, anyways, we're gonna get back to talking about the news. You may have seen that Elon Musk's company Neuralink uh, released a video of their first patient playing chess on chess.com with a MacBook using telepathy. So he's just sitting in a chair. Chess.com, very popular chess online chess playing game platform. And he's a quadriplegic, can't move his arms. And he's moving a mouse around on a Mac computer, just like the one I'm on right now, and playing chess. And that in itself is pretty amazing. Although we've kind of seen the precursor to that. I shared the video of the chimpanzee doing a similar thing. And there's actually been videos for several years of patients with a corded Neuralink implant. He was the first one to have a wireless, so there's no wires attached. Um, and so that was pretty awesome. I think I'm also going to share a video of him talking about his experience, which I think is more interesting because he talks about what hold on, I got some background noise. I'm going to mute everybody.
This is the one she was describing.
There's a video of him talking about his experience using it, which I think is much more interesting than the actual video itself. Um, and so we'll watch that. We'll also talk a little bit about there's been a ton of news this week about AI in medicine. There was a John Klug sent me an article that a Parkinson patient undergoing surgery to relieve some of the symptoms of Parkinson's disease was connected with a brain, essentially like a brain scanning or brain reading device that was able to help assist them during surgery, which is pretty exciting. Um, and there's also been reports of the Apple Vision Pro being used by doctors' assistants during surgery. So we're seeing all these things collide in real time: VR, AI, and health. You might have also seen that Apple is being sued by the United States. The Department of Justice is now calling um, Apple a monopoly, essentially, and saying that they're driving up using anti-consumer practices to drive up the costs of doing business and make their technology only exclusive or exclusionary to be worked on with other pieces of technology, which is kind of an interesting trend that we're going in. Last week we talked about the TikTok ban. Now we're seeing the government suing Apple, and I guess the consequences, I don't think they're going to win, but the consequences could be pretty big. So we'll talk about that. Nvidia, the computer chip company that has had stock increases like it's a cryptocurrency, is now creating or powering, using their chips to power humanoid robots. Have you guys seen any of those humanoid robots? Maybe I'll pull up a video. There's like they look like if you've seen the movie I, Robot with was that Will Smith? They look like those robots. And so that's coming. Um Oh, and also Apple, like we mentioned this last time, Apple is as soon as the next update and they're in iOS 18 going to be using
No problem if you.
Gemini, Google's AI
Give me
as
some.
their AI part of their update. And it made me think, with all this talk of being a monopoly and anti-competition, there's also tons of lawsuits now suing Apple and Google because they're saying that that's too big of a partnership to have happen. I actually really like that partnership. And it made me think, as we are all racing towards generative AI, seems like the whole world is just everything is pointing towards who's going to get the most powerful AI and who's going to get there the quickest. It kind of reminded me, why don't we combine all of our technology companies into one countrywide NASA-like technology company and unite and get to generative AI first? Um, I'm kind of surprised that's not actually happening. So if you guys have any thoughts on that, we'll discuss. Just like NASA, right? When we were going to the moon, it was like this huge deal. We had to unite as a country. There wasn't several different NASAs. Now there kind of is with SpaceX, private companies going to space, and Amazon, Jeff Bezos is doing his own space thing. But just kind of made me think. It seems like all the signs are pointing towards whoever gets the best AI the fastest is going to rule the world, or maybe they already do. So why are we worried about if Apple's a monopoly or if Google can't compete with Apple or if there's a problem? I say we group them all into one bucket and get to that generative AI
Mhm.
first. That's kind of tongue in cheek, but um
Good.
and okay, last announcement. We are doing a deep dive on LastPass this Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Mountain time. That's Friday the 29th, this Friday. And we'll be talking all about LastPass, the password manager that I recommend. If you're not using a password manager, you've probably heard me beat this drum before. I think you should. The benefits are immense, but they can be complicated. And most of the time, people don't use password managers correctly, or I shouldn't say that. I should say they're difficult to set up in a manner that allows you to use them as they were intended. So we're going to do a deep dive into LastPass. We're going to go over what it is, how to set it up, how most people mess up when setting it up, and how you can avoid that. And then I also, over the last couple of weeks, have been trying out. So one of the big things about password managers, if you've seen any of the advertisements, they all say that they're all named as if the names of all the main passwords imply that you only have to remember one password. One Password is like the biggest. That's the name of the company, competitor to LastPass. I think they're the biggest company. LastPass implies that this is the last password you'll ever have to remember. And then within each of those companies, they also have password. They also heavily advertise passwordless mode. So there's actually a password. They say that you can go completely passwordless. And I tested that using one of these security keys, and I've been doing a deep dive on to see for myself if I can get to a place where I genuinely don't have to remember any passwords and they're all just stored with these. So once and for all, I can defeat the foe. But we'll be talking about all that on Friday at 10 a.m. If you'd like to come, it's $45 if you're not a member of the digital estate planning service. And if you are, it's free. So let me know if you're interested in coming. You can send me an email and I'll give you the Zoom link for that. All right. Any questions before we get started? How are you guys doing?
Good. Good.
Good.
Doing well.
Good. Brian, nice to see you.
Nice to see
Tim,
you.
Peg, Chuck, Stu, John Klug there too. Hold on one second. Let me adjust my screen here. The first thing I'm going to show is, or the first story to cover is the Neuralink patient playing chess telepathically, or I'm not going to show that video, although it's very interesting. They did a live stream, Neuralink, on YouTube. You guys can look it up. It's like 8 minutes, and they're just sitting with this quadriplegic guy named uh, Noland Arbaugh, 29-year-old quadriplegic man who was paralyzed from a diving accident 8 years ago, showed he could control a computer and play video games like chess.com and Civilization 6, which is a very complicated game, using only his mind. That's an amazing video. You should check it out. I'm not going to show that because I actually don't think it's as interesting as the video that I saw of him describing what it was like to actually to use this technology. So let's take a look at this video and then we'll discuss. I need to enable audio so you guys can hear it. Okay.
What does it feel like to move the cursor with your mind?
It's freaking wild.
Can you guys hear that? Is it
It's-
quiet? Too quiet?
It's hard to explain, honestly. Like,
Hold on one sec. Let me see here. Let me see if I can make it louder. Try to turn it up on your end. I'm at max volume. Let me see here. Yeah, this is as loud as I can get it. Hopefully you can hear.
What does it feel like to move the cursor with your mind?
it's freaking wild. It's hard to explain, honestly. Like, so much of what I feel is impossible to get others to understand. So like right now, I can feel myself moving my index finger. It's not moving, but I can feel it. I'm doing it, and it's just not able to, there's no way for y'all to understand like what that feels like. I can explain it, I can try, but there's just no way. And seeing that translate onto a screen and being able to move a cursor is just, it's such a wild feeling. It's like not being able to explain this to y'all. It's hard, it's very difficult, but then you can see it happening real time on a screen, and so there's a connection there. I feel like I'm showing people like how amazing this technology is by, I don't know, just thinking. That's crazy.
All right. Well, hopefully you were able to hear that. Um, the thing that stood out to me was that he's describing something that's like not really been ever experienced by a human being before. Like it reminds me of Star Wars, like, using the Force. And he's he's the way I understand that Neuralink works is that he is imagining that his hand is moving. He can't move his hand. So he's imagining that his hand is moving and controlling, for example, a mouse that controls a cursor. So he has to imagine that his hand's moving, And not only does that then actually trigger the movement to happen, the mouse to move, but with the Neuralink implant, he can also feel as if as if his hand is moving, even though it can't move. So it's pretty incredible on two different levels. And I thought that was I thought that was just worth sharing. Did you guys see this? Did you see any of these videos? What do you think?
Matt, I have thought about what I just saw, and one of the things that I think about, and I'm a chess player, and chess play is a function of both time and the right moves. So being able to move speedily is an advantage because oftentimes you run out of time against good players. And then my thought was of gaming, and then I went from gaming to actually military combat, aircraft to aircraft, and thinking what an advantage it would be if you could fire that moment faster than your competitor or your enemy. And it'd be the difference between life and death. So, and those are microseconds in differences. So, but I think that's a very mundane example. I think there's far more sophisticated examples that we could look at. And I think the most telling is an individual's mobility and ability to live his life is significantly changed by the ability to think and do when before he couldn't do. He just couldn't make it happen. And now he can steer his wheelchair. He can go places that he couldn't have gone before. Um, I think it's stunning, and I think Neuralink as an investment has just huge applications.
I totally agree. And as a fellow chess.com player, I wonder if you're ranked as high as him. Apparently he's pretty high ranked. So maybe you've played him. Who knows? Um, yeah, it's such an my thought is when everybody hears the idea of putting a chip into your brain, we all instinctively say, "Oh no, we'd never do that." And we're gonna see a lot of people, myself included. I think I'm already kind of on that, like, you know what? Maybe I will consider getting a chip in my brain just at this early stage. You know, if it can, and there's other reports of um, these types of chips. I think pretty soon we'll be able to see this make somebody walk again. You know, Brian's here. He's got way more knowledge and experience in this in the medical field than any of us. So I'd be curious if you've been keeping up with this at all, Brian.
No, not too much, but it's fascinating, and I think the potentials are incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's moving quickly. And then we pair it up with the Apple Vision Pro. I mean, your life can be pretty good. I mean, just thinking of a quadriplegic, you know, you can go from not moving to having control over your extremities again, maybe even walk. And then you put a VR headset on and you start going into some virtual worlds and interacting with people. Pretty awesome stuff. But we'll stay very close. I'm going to be glued to anything that Neuralink does. So I'll keep you guys updated. I'm sure that, you know, over the next year, we're just going to be seeing this is the first domino of many that are going to be just incredible, incredible videos showing the power of these new brain chips. They're not perfect. I've also read quite a lot, you know, that says we're a long way from having it really read your mind. Which is what's kind of required, they're saying. And the brain is just too complex. Now I'm way off on a limb because I don't understand that stuff, but we're seeing just with a tiny, what a small advancement into working with the brain can do. So I'm excited. Um, oh, I also found this kind of interesting story that related to AI before we move off of AI into the Apple being sued by the for the monopoly. Um, there was a report from Bloomberg that's saying Japan has entered a crisis mode with their declining birth rates. And so they're using AI matchmaking to pair together young people and try to get them to have more babies. And something like over half of the counties in Japan, I guess, are using this or offering this AI matchmaking to their citizens. And then I was thinking, I was like, oh, that's so weird and dystopian. And then I had another thought, and I was like, aren't we already doing the same thing here? Last time I checked, every single person that I know, younger person at least, is on a dating app. And so I looked at some of the statistics. How many people do you think under the age of 30, percentage wise, have ever used a dating site?
82%.
90%.
Yeah, 90%.
That's what I thought also. This report from Pew says only 53% report ever having used a dating site or app.
I don't
But
believe that.
me neither. I don't believe that either. But they do say that
Hey, I used one way back when. I mean, years and years ago, I used one. So
I agree. It says report having used, so but they did also in the same study say that over 33%, so over a third of all new relationships are formed online. And that's just an algorithm, right? What's the difference between what Japan's doing with an AI matchmaking and what we're doing with Tinder and Bumble and OkCupid and websites? Those are just, aren't those just algorithms that are connecting people? And there's a whole other rabbit hole that can be done on that, but the statistics around dating apps are pretty alarming. Like I'm pretty sure like 80% of men, well, as you can imagine, most dating app users are men. I think it's like 80 to 20 or something very lopsided. And then within that lopsidedness, there's another lopsidedness, which is basically only the 20th highest 20th percentile in men get any matches. So basically all 80% of the women choose only the top 20% of men. They're very selective. And so if you're in that bottom 80% of men on a dating app, you're basically getting no matches or no so anyways, that's I don't really know. I don't have like a take. I just was pulling these things together and I find it pretty fascinating. But what do you guys think? Are we is this something to be concerned about? What if it gets up to 66%? What if all of our what if all of our relationships are being formed online? 33% feels low to me. I don't remember the last time I've talked to a friend my age, 29 or younger, who hasn't. It's hard for me to find a relationship when I talk to people and I see them in real life who haven't started on dating apps. But what do you guys think? Is this a concerning trend?
I don't find it concerning. I think it's just a statement on a very complex society today. And if you marry later, which is the norm, you lose out on all those connections you make in school. So once you're out of school, the game changes as far as the opportunities. And employment is not the answer because some employments are very low as far as meeting people potential. So I think it's a commentary on our society and I don't find it disconcerting. I just think we're going to have to find more and different ways for people to connect, and dating apps certainly seems to be the best to date.
Well, we talked about the other day about how much screen time per day people have, and that number keeps escalating. And even, your driverless car example gives us an extra half an hour to be on the screen, or whatever that period of time is. And so, why wouldn't then it follow that you use your screen to find your mate? You're using your screen for everything else.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I
It's
think
better
that
than my generation, because if you wanted to find a relationship, you went to a bar.
yeah, I don't know. I guess dating goes. I think dating is just an uncomfortable. There's a few very uncomfortable topics to talk about, and that uncomfortable meaning unfair. I guess that would be a better word. And I think everything that I'm reading about dating apps is like, oh wow, this is really unfair. And then I just think about it, and I'm like, well, actually, I think that's kind of just life. Dating is very unfair, especially if you're a man. The percentages are against you, um, for most. Now, if you're super tall and handsome like me, we have it pretty easy. But not everybody can be 6'3", super, super athletic. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Um, just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, moving on. Apple is being sued by the USA Department of Justice, along with 16 states, has filed a significant antitrust lawsuit against Apple. The lawsuit accuses Apple of maintaining an illegal monopoly in the smartphone market, which allegedly stifles competition and innovation, drives up prices for consumers and developers, and restricts the integration of competing technologies with iPhones. The Department of Justice's complaint filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of New Jersey targets Apple's control over the iOS distribution. It's 30% commission on most sales through the App Store. I didn't know that it takes 30% commission on most sales through the App Store. That seems a little high. And its practices that hinder rival payment solutions, messaging apps, smartwatches, and digital wallets. If they lose, the lawsuit seeks 3 specific remedies: a court order to prevent Apple from using its App Store to block innovative new apps. Now, that's an interesting sentence. A court order to prevent Apple from using its App Store to block innovative new apps. Who decides what's innovative?
If it's new, it's innovative.
To block Apple imposed restrictions on other technologies integrating with the iPhone, and to prevent Apple from using its contractual terms to maintain its alleged monopoly. While the complaint does not explicitly call for a breakup of Apple, it does not rule out the possibility. So wow, that's a pretty bold claim. They could potentially break up Apple. That doesn't seem like that is possible. It does not rule out the possibility, and ask for relief as needed to cure any competitive harm. So it's a big deal, and there's like tons of other lawsuits that are happening right underneath it from consumers, class action lawsuits. So Apple's kind of in some deep stuff, apparently. And I just think it's a little bit, I don't like to see this. This comes after a week after TikTok is facing a potential ban. We talked about that last week. And my take on TikTok was it's objectively the best social media application, in my opinion. If you haven't tried TikTok, download it, try it for yourself. If you while you still can, that would be my recommendation. And what you'll see if you download TikTok is immediately there's something proprietary with their algorithm that just delivers you content that is significantly better than it allows you to discover new things, discover new people significantly more than its counterparts. And
just a thought on the
sure, go ahead, Chuck.
I was going to say just a thought on the monopoly aspect of it. You realize that if you have by far the best product, pretty soon you'll have a monopoly. So, and then we punish monopolies for having too much market share. It's another way of saying they punish monopolies for being too good. And Apple is, historically been the El Primo product in the cell phone business and with the most innovations. So there's a little bit of a catch-22 in the antitrust actions, particularly of the best of companies. When two companies who are conspire to manipulate the market, that is a monopolistic pattern. So I guess my point is, isn't it ironic that the best are the ones that become the targets, whether it's TikTok or Apple?
Yeah, that's exactly my point. I'm not for this. It doesn't, to me, as a consumer, I am a very much a tech consumer. I've never felt limited by my options. There's plenty of Android phones that are amazing that allow for all the things that people hate Apple for. People hate Apple because you get locked into their ecosystem, right? That and that's how it works. But the people who love Apple, myself included, love the ecosystem. Um, but I've never felt like Apple has prevented competition in the sense because I see all the other options that are available. Samsung has an amazing product. And Google Pixel have, customization features that go far beyond what people accuse Apple of not having. And so I don't know. I don't like it. I totally agree with you, Chuck. It seems like all the best players are being penalized, and I don't know
And yet you
why.
want to put them all together.
Yeah, that was a tongue in cheek. That was specifically with AI. The more I read about AI, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But if generative AI is what Elon says it will be, which is like, the tool that can either make or break the entire world. If you accept that as the premise, why would we not pool together all of our technology companies and combine the Apples and the Googles and the Microsofts to being the first in reaching the generative AI? Because it
It's
seems like one
called,
of those things I don't know. It seems what do you guys think about that though?
I
It
think
seems
it's
like that's the
called
one thing.
profit. It's called capitalistic profit, that they
Hmm.
don't want to have the government take over something like that. The other thing I would say is about TikTok. Nobody's trying to ban TikTok. They're trying to change the ownership, get rid of the Chinese portion of TikTok, which is understandable. And if a US firm would take it over, that piece, then I think everybody would be fine with it.
And I
Yeah.
think your suggestion, Peg, that it be the US portion of TikTok, because that's all we care about. We don't care about the information that comes out of Canada that goes to China. We probably do, but outrightly we don't. And I'd go back on the monopoly, Matt. The other side of what I said is the anti-monopolists are not trying to break up Apple because it's the best. They're trying to break up Apple or have them dismember portions of it because they're using their monopoly power that they've won competitively for manipulating the Apple Store, which has nothing to do with the Apple iPhone. So you're using the power of the iPhone to exploit the store. And in so doing, you penalize the average customer. So I think that it's the application that you have to look at.
Isn't that a little like,
Forcing the user to go to Apple? They're choosing to go to Apple. Like Matt said, yeah, there's plenty of good cell phones on the market. There's plenty of good apps on the market that you can access. No one's forcing that. And so, I grew up with the concept that you create through the power of your uh, elegant thinking a company that is good. But God forbid it becomes too good. It used to be that we sort of celebrated success. now we think it's bad, and if you're successful enough that you can buy your own airplane, then boy, you're really a bad guy. It's a societal. I was on a jury of a trial of this guy who started a company called DaVita, which is a kidney dialysis company. It was a big deal. He was being sued by the government for 3 counts of $100 million apiece. So if you lost, it was $300,000. And when we were deliberating, there was one juror who said, well, he makes $16 million a year. He must be guilty of something. And I had to tell him that we can only talk about what the evidence has proved. And where in the evidence of this week-long trial did you hear that his salary is causing him to be a crook? But that's the way people think. It's, big is no longer good. There's something wrong. It's flipped. And so I think government is suffering that same sort of malady. And they're saying that, boy, Apple, you're so big that you're doing something wrong. Let's find out what it is and let's take it away from you. I would prefer that government keep their nose out of it and let the consumer decide based on where the dollars flow. If they want to go to Google, they'll go. If they want to go to Apple, that's what they'll purchase. And the app writers who put their apps onto Apple, create an app for PC and go that route. Just let the market dictate this, not the government.
What you're saying, Stu, reminds me of something my dad always told me. He said he thought it was funny that when you're growing up, all of your parents tell you you can be whatever you want. You're gonna work hard and you can become rich and successful. And you can be the best and you follow your dreams. And then he says he would tell me, and then the people who do that become the Jeff Bezos or the Elon Musks or the Bill Gates. And then everybody hates them because they're wealthy and successful. And it was an interesting, yeah, I always think about that. It's funny.
My advice would be not to hate somebody for how much or how little they make. You look inside and examine their heart. And, Bill Gates gives away however many $billion to causes, including one of ours, Rotaries. I don't see what's so wrong.
I don't think most of them are doing that. Haven't
Well,
heard about Apple doing that or about Amazon putting all that kind of money into philanthropic areas. They could solve so many problems if they cared to, but I think they tend to keep it themselves.
Mrs.
Well,
Amazon
I don't know
has,
where you get that data because the data that I look at says different.
Yeah, I think Chuck was gonna say something about Mackenzie Bezos. I
yeah,
just saw she downloaded a lot, or she
She's fabulous. She is
downloaded,
fabulous what she's
donated.
doing.
so that is some Amazon money. It just didn't come through Jeff.
Yeah. Well, anyways, okay, moving on. Thank you guys. I actually learned, I learn a lot from these things. I hope you don't think that part of the reason I bring up these stories is because I want to hear your takes on it. I want to learn. And so thank you for sharing your thoughts and opinions because I genuinely learn a lot from him. So moving on, NVIDIA, the computer chip company that if you're a stockholder, you're very happy with, has announced a project called Groot, which is a hardware and software platform specifically created to power the advancement of humanoid robots with multimodal AI capabilities. So have you guys seen any of these robots? Tesla has one, and they're starting to put them in. Tesla's starting to put these robots in all of their showrooms. Have you seen it? If you've driven by, he's usually at the front. I think his name's like Isaac or something. Let me see if I can pull up a picture. There's and maybe you've seen the Boston Dynamics videos of those robots. Have you not seen? Should I show a video of some of these? They're like amazing robots. They can
Yes.
do backflips, run. It's pretty it's pretty funny. If you've seen the movie I, Robot, basically that's what they are. Let me see if I can pull up example here.
You drive
And
a
so
Tesla, man?
sorry?
Do you drive a Tesla?
I don't, but my brother and my parents have a Model Y, so I drive theirs occasionally. Um, let's see, what's the latest? So there's the dogs. Have you seen the dogs? That I'm not as interested in showing. Atlas gets a grip. Let's see. This is a minute and 20 seconds. Let's see what's going on. Can you guys hear this? Yeah. Okay. Oh no.
Forgot my tools again.
Sorry. My computer's upset.
It must be an Apple product.
Yeah, they're throttling me. Hold on. This is annoying. I think I got too many things going on. I need a new computer. This is a 7-year-old computer. He's mad at me. Let me see if I can. All right, well, you can already see. Look, he's grabbing 2x4s. I don't know if I could do anything in the.
I think that's a key. Be careful.
This is real. Look at that. This is real. This is not. Sorry.
Such a show off.
All right.
Well, yeah, so that's what NVIDIA's powering the platform. So that's pretty exciting to me. I mean, I know if you've watched any sci-fi movies, you immediately think this is it. It's over. But I would like to be put on the wait list to own one of these as an assistant as soon as possible. I want one very badly. And it's only a matter of time before these things are in our house, I think. That's my take. I think these will be our butlers. It'll wash your dishes. It'll be your romantic partner if that's, what you may be interested in, which you're going to laugh and say, no way, but you know that that's what is going to happen. You pair that with an AI voice assistant. We've already shown the Chat GPT voice capabilities. We've compared that to the movie Her. We know that people will fall in love with the AI voice. It could be your favorite movie star or whatever. And I don't know. When a robot can provide you, if you're a woman, if you're a single woman, let's say you're a single woman over any age, but maybe let's say over 40, and there's a robot that can provide for you, as in do all your dishes, do all your house work around the house, protect you from violence, talk to you anytime. I don't know. I think that's going to be a pretty hard thing to stop people from getting. So
It's
I think
doesn't
that's
make a
where we're
difference if
going.
you're a woman or a man. That it works both ways.
Yeah, with a man, I think they would care more about the sexual side of it, which will also be a huge thing too. So get ready for that. That's where we're that's where but I want one. I don't know. Wouldn't you want one? If you could have that, if you could buy that thing right now for $10,000, it's probably
Yes.
pretty cheap. Um, I would definitely get one of those. So that's where we're going. Have you guys seen iRobot? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? That movie? Okay, hold on. I think that's lit. Stu, you saw it?
No, I have not.
No, nobody said. Okay, so I'm going to add this to my AI movie recommendation list. I've kind of started compiling. John Klug asked a brilliant question one day. He's like, "What movies show kind of where we're headed with AI?" And I said, for text for AI for Chat GPT, those type of text based, voice based AI, you should watch the movie Her, which maybe you've seen with Joaquin
Phoenix.
The
Phoenix.
dog.
Yeah. Yep, that shows where we're going with Chat GPT and those types of AIs. If you want to see where we're going with the Apple Vision Pro, the headsets, um, you should watch Ready Player One. Uh, yeah, this this movie, Ready Player One. And for these humanoid robots, classic movie. Um, iRobot. Will Smith, iRobot. And it goes just about exactly how you would think it goes. Look at these. They look like the Boston Dynamics robots. Let me see if I can get yeah. That's it. That's what they look like. So
It'll be interesting when they start dressing them up more like people, like that last one we saw. If he was wearing a pair of pants and a workman's jacket and what have you. I mean, wow.
yeah, that's a good question. What do you want your robot to look like? Because I don't know if I really want mine to look human. I think I'd prefer it to look very, very robotic, like kind of like that, where it's like clearly like an R2D2 versus a C3PO. That's what I would prefer. What do you guys? What form of robot do you like? You want it to look like a human?
Yeah.
Too creepy for me. I don't think we'll be able to get it good enough. Have you guys seen at Anschutz, they have a robot there, and I'm forgetting the name. It's called like Doug, and he's an AI assistant for I think people with dementia, and he just like has conversations with patients.
Hmm.
But they make him like look kind of like he has a projected face, so you can change the face to look like anybody of like any race or gender. And it's weird. It's too weird for me because it doesn't look real. You know, you guys know about the uncanny valley? Have you heard about that? Of
No.
AI of the uncanny valley is a video game term that basically describes this area on computer graphics where uh our brains are very comfortable with seeing animations that are clearly animated. So like think of like Finding Nemo or like SpongeBob. We have no problem looking at those and because we know that they're fake. But as video games began to get more real and the characters began to look more like humans, like 3D rendered humans, they notice there's this, as they get more real, there's this valley. So the enjoyment that you experience increases with even just animated SpongeBob type cartoons. And as it gets more real, there's a huge drop off and it becomes very scary for our brains to comprehend things that are somewhat human, but we know are not. And that's basically the problem I think that we're going to have for a while with these robots. Like your brain will know very instinctively whether something's real or not. And that'll actually, it's like a subconscious reaction. Let me see if I can have a good example. Yeah. What do you want your robot to look like? That's a good.
はいと返事をします。
はい。
いいえと返事をします。
いいえ。
顔をしかめます。
Too creepy. This is what I want. Wally. That's what I want my robot to look like. I don't want him to look.
Found a cigarette.
See, look at that. You don't want a robot like that in your house.
Oh, help, you read me? Do you read me, help?
Hello, Dave.
I'll take that one too. Anyways, okay, you get the idea. What do you want your robot to look like? Because we're all going to have these robots. You know that, right? You guys know we're all going to have one of these things. Once they make a robot that can do the dishes, fold your clothes. But yeah, so NVIDIA's making these chips. It's going to be a pretty big deal. I guess Saudi Arabia has invested 40 billion in their AI projects, and they're trying to be a leader. I don't know.
Matt, you mentioned NVIDIA's chips. Did you see the NVIDIA interview? And later, I think it was an ad showing their $40,000 multi-chip. It was basically about the size of a laptop. And it was interesting that they said the cable that connected this device was more expensive than the chip. That's how inexpensively the chips have gotten down to. But it was such a different thing than chips. Chips I'm used to are, wafers. This was like 25 wafers and about the size of a laptop. Anyways, just an aside on NVIDIA and what the lead they're getting in creating marketable usages.
Was it this one? Super chip?
Yes, and that's the whole thing there, isn't it? Two of them, or is that one? Well, anyways, that was about what it was. It wasn't this one, but that was about the size of a laptop, and it was $40,000. And I just said, and then they gave the computing capabilities of it that were astronomical.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but that sounds really interesting. We'll see. That's really all I got for you guys. I want to remind you that we're doing a deep dive, LastPass, password managers. I will be answering the question, can you really go passwordless? Is it possible to leave all of your passwords behind? I I've been trying to do it myself, and I'll report my findings back to you. But we'll also just talk about how to use password managers, how most people use them incorrectly, and answer your questions. And it'll all be recorded, and notes will be available. So again, free if you're a member, $45 if you just want to drop in. Would love to see you there. That's Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. That's all for today. I'll be back here next Tuesday, same time, same place, new stories, and hope to see you then.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Matt.